Also, you may download this
Good afternoon. SmallBizDavid here, and we are about to enter a webinar that is being produced by the Small Business Administration and AARP. It is about starting a business specifically targeted to members of AARP who just happen to be, for the most part, baby boomers. So as that is a major objective in the SmallBizDavid Foundation, I wanted to share this webinar with you. We'll talk about it. It'll be an ongoing discussion that we will have at the smallbizdavidfoundation.org and on landing pages inside of davidsbarter.com. More on that. So let's start with the webinar now.
Gary Bickford, founder of the Healthy Life Clinic in East Tennessee, with locations in Knoxville and Jamestown. Gary has had a 40-year career in the healthcare business. At age 56, he returned to school to become a board-certified family nurse practitioner. His goal was to open family practice clinics to serve the medically underserved. He turned to SCORE for mentoring assistance. In the first 3 years of opening his clinics, he was able to provide $2.5 million in free medical care to people who did not have appropriate access to good health care. Gary was the 2011 SCORE Award recipient for Outstanding Small Business, launched by an individual age 50+. Now let's turn it over to Michael Chodos of the SBA. Michael?
Good afternoon, Debbie. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I just wanted to say on behalf of the SBA, welcome to everyone on the call. This is our chance to have a conversation today about the opportunities for entrepreneurship over age 50 and to find out more about the resources that are available to help you as you start down your entrepreneurship path. Today's conversation is going to be general about how to access those kinds of resources and also very specific about the kinds of things that you will want to think about as you decide to pursue entrepreneurship. So Debbie, for today's purposes, I know that we were going to talk about a number of topics, including the statistics about those who are interested in entrepreneurship, so that we can have some information about what it is that folks who are interested in entrepreneurship can do. Now let's talk a little bit about who it is that is interested in entrepreneurship. We know that approximately 1 in 4 individuals aged 44 to 70 is interested in entrepreneurship. We also know that entrepreneurship rates among those over age 45 are higher than those in the 20 to 35 age group. What this really means is that Americans who are over age 50 are thinking about how much time they have after they have finished their first career and about the opportunities that await them as they think about the resources, the networks, the know-how, and the expertise that they have as they think about that business they've always had a dream about pursuing. Our conversation here today is to talk about how we can help you realize and pursue that dream. Debbie?
Thank you, Michael. We'd like to go to a poll question now because we'd like to hear from you, our participants, as much as possible. So we're going to try to get a few poll questions in during this presentation. Just click on your answer via the poll that you see on the PowerPoint itself. So the poll question number 1, where are you in the business ownership process? Are you just starting to consider if being a business owner is right for you? Will you definitely be starting a new business in the near future? Or do you currently own a business? So please click on the answer that applies most to you, and we'll give you the results in a minute. And while we're giving folks a chance to submit their answers, let's take our first question. We have one from Dante, and he wants to know that if he filed for bankruptcy, can he still be approved for an SBA loan?
Actually, I have all 3 of those answers.
Thank you, Dante, for that question. Dante, basically, the rules about SBA loans have to do with whether or not you still have an outstanding and unpaid obligation to the federal government. So this is not a question that affects everyone, but it does affect those who have been unable to pay prior obligations to the federal government. So if you have a prior SBA loan which you were unable to pay when you went into bankruptcy, you will not be able to get a new SBA loan at that time. But if you don't have obligations outstanding to the federal government for taxes or otherwise, you might be in a different situation. This is a perfect example of a question you will want to discuss with one of our counselors or one of our district offices in order to be able to find out exactly.
Their question: are you in the business ownership process? Are you just starting a business? Are you just starting to consider being a business, starting a business owner, being a business owner? 34% said that that's their situation. Will you definitely be starting a new business in the near future? 44% said yes. You would naturally, currently own a business. 22%. That was the first survey question.
As well as a local counselor or mentor near you. Please call them, discuss with them your situation.
They're talking about SCORE, S-C-O-R-E. Most communities have a SCORE office. It is a tremendous source of resources. Go to SCORE, SCORE.org. They'll ask you probably for your zip code, and you'll find out where the nearest SCORE office is. If you're thinking about starting a business, it's a great source of resources.
And also, we've got almost 22% of the folks on the line say they currently own a business. So, Michael, why don't we talk about the next steps in starting a business, which is conducting a self-assessment?
Thank you, Debbie. Really, when it comes to starting a business, what we found is the following. When you're 20 or 25 years old and you're thinking about starting a business, you tend to be very enthusiastic and you want to get started right on the first day. But we find that almost all of the Encore entrepreneurs that we speak with are interested in finding out what is it that they need to do to have the best possible chance of success. So the first and most important thing that you can do is you can start the planning process of deciding whether or not starting a business is right for you. So we know that the businesses that are most likely to succeed are the ones which take advantage of the skills and experience and network, as well as the personality of the person starting the business. So we have some questions that we've put together that will help guide you through the process of deciding if starting a business is right for you. These are not the only questions. These are not guaranteed to be the right questions, but they're just good discussion starters. So we like to have folks who are thinking about starting a business ask, number one, why are you starting the business? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Is this something that builds on the experience you've had before, or perhaps on a hobby or other interest that you've had before? Number two, have you any experience that you can use in the business? Is there something that you can take from your past that you can apply to the business? That doesn't mean that you have to start a business in exactly the same business or trade that you were in before, but are there skills that you developed before, including organizational skills or management skills that you can, or even financial skills that you can apply to your current business? How good are you at making decisions? And how will this business impact and affect your family? These are the kinds of questions that we want you to be thinking about and to discuss with those members in your family and in your network that are going to be supporting you once you start. Debbie?
Thank you, Michael. Next slide, please. You've got some important questions to ask. Michael, why don't you go over these as well?
Sure. So when you're doing the initial steps of deciding whether or not starting a business is right for you, what we suggest to everyone is that you measure twice and cut once. As you're starting your business, you need to find out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, meaning your challenges and your areas where you can improve, what are the resources you already have available to you, and what is it that you can get help with. So the next set of questions that we ask everybody to look into are, number one, have you managed or supervised before? Because when you start your business and you're the boss, you're going to be managing. You're going to be having to make sure that all of your folks are doing their best and that they're all pulling their oars in the right direction. That is a skill that is learned as well as one that's natural. So we ask you to look into whether or not you have management experience. Number two, have you assessed your finances? Not all businesses that start can get financing from a loan, from a bank, from a third party on day one. Many people who are starting a business put in money and equity of their own or from friends, family, or other members of their close network on day one. You need to understand what resources are available to you as you start your business. Next, probably as important as anything else, what research have you done on the business and industry? We tell people to look into, and we'll be talking about this more later in the call, to look into who are your customers going to be and who are your competitors. Even if you have the best idea, service, or product, you need to make sure that you understand who out there is doing what it is that you already do, who does it the best, and who is going to be competing with you. And last, do you have a strong support system in place? What that really means is, do you have folks who can mentor you, who can help you, and who can give you advice so that you don't have to reinvent all wheels from scratch. Once again, if you go to SBA.gov, you will find right there an opportunity to access all of our online resources, all of our online training, as well as the name and address of a local counseling, mentoring, and training resource in our SCORE, SBDC, and WBC networks. Debbie?
That's great information, Michael. We've gotten quite a few questions in right now about how to create a business plan, and I know that's the next section that you were going to address. So why don't we just jump into your 5 steps for planning and take it from there, because I think what you have to say might answer quite a few of the questions that we have stacking up here.
Yes. So thank you, Debbie. When it comes to business planning, what we basically say to everyone is, you either plan to succeed or you fail to plan to fail. And what that basically means is every business has to have enthusiasm. Every business person has to have enthusiasm to start. If you're not excited about your business, you're not going to want to continue to push through when things get tough from time to time. But excitement and enthusiasm alone are important. You need a plan too. So we have 5 steps for everyone to go through as they think about their business. Now, first, number 1, what is your idea? You need to be clear about your product or service. For some people, that'll be easy. You know exactly what you have in mind. You know what service you're going to provide or what product you're going to make. But for others, it may be more vague, and they need to work through their idea in order to get it very, very specific. Number 2, you need to list your qualifications, and what that means is, how is it that you're going to be the best out there at either the service you're going to provide or the best product out there in the marketplace, whatever it is that you're going to make. So you really need to look at what it is that you're going to do and what its attributes are and how they compare to your competitors out there in the marketplace. Number 3, your personal goals. What is this about? What is the purpose of starting this business? Some people just love a particular hobby or a particular service. They love helping people. They love working in a particular area, and they want to go out there and do it, maybe make enough to make a little bit extra, but it doesn't have to be their primary area of support. For others, they are starting the business for a very specific purpose, and that is to be their family's main source of support. And so really being clear about profit and loss is critical. We want to help you at every step along the way in learning how to plan. It's not just a question of having to plan. Sometimes you need help in learning how to plan, and we are there to help you do that at every step along the way. Can we maybe go to the next slide?
Next slide, sure.
All right. Number 4, identify your niche. What is it about your product that makes it different? And number 5, collect information about the market and about the competition. And really, the 5th item is the most important. At the end of the day, folks sometimes spend time business planning, putting down the plan, thinking about the name, getting business cards and stuff printed up, having a logo. All of those things are important, and we have lots of help to make sure that you have the best marketing plan possible. But on day 1, the single most likely factor for success in your business is really understanding who your customers are, how much they're willing to pay for your products and service, and who your competitors are, and how much they charge for products and services. Really understanding that market is your best path to having a likelihood of a successful business. Debbie?
Thanks, Michael. I know the next item you want to talk about is what are your funding resources, but before we get to that, we've got an interesting question here that caught my eye. It is from Ruth, and she wants to know, how can I get over the fear factor of getting started? Any comments to that before you move on, Michael?
Ruth, that is just a wonderful question, and we deal with that all the time. So many people talk about entrepreneurship, and they almost make it sound kind of easy, like there's all these entrepreneurs out there in the world, and they're all having great success. And for some people, it almost makes you feel bad that you're not out there being an entrepreneur too. Well, let me tell you, not only do I work for the SBA, but I have been an entrepreneur for many, many years before coming here, and I know that being an entrepreneur, especially starting at the very first time in your own first business, can be scary. And if you've had a job where you've been paid by other people for years before starting your own business, it's going to feel kind of new. And so I don't think anyone should be embarrassed about being nervous, worried, or anxious, or even a little bit afraid as you embark on your own entrepreneurial journey. And so my answer for you, Ruth, is you don't need to do this alone. If you're worried or nervous, you're not alone. We have over 14,000 counselors and mentors around the country. They will stick with you on day one. We have women's business centers where you can attend a class with other women in your area who are thinking of starting a business. You can talk with other entrepreneurs who are going down the same path. You can have one-on-one counseling sessions where you talk about your own particular plan. You can get the help you need to take all that big, huge set of unknowns and break it down into really simple steps that you can pursue at your own pace as you decide to set up your business. So thank you for that question, Ruth.
All right, thank you, Michael. Now, why don't you jump right in now on to funding resources?
All right, so when you start a business, the first thing, as we mentioned a moment ago, is that you have to plan. And part of that plan is figuring out how much you plan to spend in your business over the course of a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, etc., and how much you are proposing to take in from the sales of your products or your services. And what all that planning will do is it'll give you a really concrete way to figure out how much money you're going to need from whatever source is available to you to start the business. One of the worst things that can happen to a new small business is to have too much money that you borrow from other people when you start, or too little. Obviously, since you have to pay other folks for the opportunity of having access to loans from them, or you have to give away potential interest in your company from those who have equity to invest, you want to make sure that you're getting the right amount of money for your business at the right time. So there are various sources that we talk about when we talk about where money might where it might be available from. So number one is your own money. That can be savings. That can be money that you have put aside for a business. It can be from various sources. Number two, if you own property, it is not unusual to take out a second mortgage on the property to access some cash to use to start the business. You can also get funds from friends or family. They may be interested if you have a detailed plan about how you're going to start your business and how you're going to succeed. If you just walk up to a member of your family or to a friend and say, gee, I'm starting a business, but I have no plan, you can imagine that they'll be less interested. And then ultimately, there are loans available from microlenders, from community development financial institutions called CDFIs, from business banks through SBA-backed lending and otherwise, and from private investors as your business gets bigger and grows. So once again, our counselors and mentors are extremely experienced at helping startup businesses access capital at each stage along the way. So please come find out who the counselors and mentors are in your area by putting your zip code in at sba.gov and connect up with one of them and talk about your plan and talk about the level of capital that's right for you. Debbie?
Great, thank you, Michael. We've got quite a few questions also coming in on in what order do we do whatever it is we need to do? Do we do a business plan first? Do we set up a structure first? What do we do first?
I am going to end this broadcast right now,
what to do and in what order,
but I will hopefully be able to get a set of of slides, and I will make those slides available to you. If not, we know generally the format, the concepts, the questions, and we will make that information available to you. We are in a very critical time.
Make sure that you plan, and make sure that you check your plan with somebody who is objective.
We are in a big transitional time in the history of our country in terms of our economy. Number one, not enough jobs are being created on a monthly basis, and historically, new businesses started create or are responsible for 60% of new job creation. But then too, we have another demographic dynamic, if you will, and that is the baby boomer, like myself, who are at a certain stage in our life, and depending upon where we are, what resources have we accumulated, what it is that we want to do with our lives today, what it is that we want to do with our lives tomorrow, we may be making decisions, as I did, that it was important for me to do something. When I found out that my Social Security was not going to support my very modest lifestyle, I decided that I was going to have to create a cash flow system. Nothing extraordinary, just using my business experiences of the last 40 years, and sharing those experiences with individuals like yourself. Because I am a baby boomer, meaning I was born between the years of 1946 and 1964. I was born way closer to the 1946 side, actually 1949. I have accumulated a lot of business experiences in the last 40 years, and I want to share those experiences, share the successes, share the failures, so that anybody, be they a baby boomer or a child of the baby boomer or a grandchild of the baby boomer, can start a business. Find that entrepreneurial spirit from within. Explore it. Share your expertise. Share your passion. Share your intellectual property, and create a business entity that will benefit you because you're taking your time to do it, and will benefit others. You can bring value into other people's lives by what it is that you have to offer. That is the true spirit of what happens in the SmallBizDavid Foundation. And most importantly, as we start new small businesses today, the concept of small business collaboration is perhaps the most important concept when starting a new small business. A small business owner like yourself, like myself, cannot do it alone. It is incumbent upon us to collaborate with other individuals who can supply the expertise, the talent, the thought process of things that we do not know about. And in return for that, in a bartering kind of situation, a bartering kind of environment, you can offer whatever it is that your expertise is. Personally, my expertise is marketing and sales, primarily marketing, sales, business strategy, online marketing. These are the things that I spend my time today, the things that I do best, and in our foundation, I am committed to sharing those experiences, those ideas, those concepts to help you get a business started today. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.